So what's going on guys, this here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will show you the best Deathblade PVE build in Lost Ark. So in this guide I will show you what abilities and awakening skill you want to get. Then I will explain what are the best engravings, gems and event cards to use for endgame content. And then lastly, I will show you the best gameplay and even which stats you need to allocate for PvE, so you would be able to get the best results and highest damage possible and much more. So no matter how low or high level or gear score your character is, you can easily use this build and follow the step-by-step guide. So if this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into it. So Deathblade has big AoE skills with high damage to farm a lot of mob groups very quickly. She has also good mobility to make the leveling and endgame dungeons very easy and enjoyable. Her skills suffer from relatively long cooldowns, so make sure you group up your enemies to kill them very efficiently. Normally a Deathblade's gameplay is focused around gaining the death orb meter as fast as possible, then unleashing the blade surge, and then repeating the same process all over again. But as we're using the surge engraving, it will change things. So surge engraving replaces the blade surge skill with another skill called the zero skill, which then provides a flat damage boost, introduces a buff stack gain during the death trance, and allows the dead blade to recover death orbs once blade surge is used. Because your orbs get refunded or you basically regain them, your gameplay will focus around multi-hit skills for a buff stacking, before unleashing the blade surge for your biggest damage. With instant death orb regeneration, your skills will constantly have low cooldowns, which will contribute to the buff stacking rotation, and you'll be able to use the blade surge relatively quickly again. So if you're looking for the best leveling, raiding, chaos dungeon or any other PvE content build, then this is the one for you. Okay, so now let's move over to the build itself, and these are the skills you want to have. So then for the first ability we have the Wind Cut, and we use 7 levels to unlock the quick preparation and sustain enhancement. Then for your gems you want to get the cooldown reduction gem, and then lastly for your rune you want to get the rage. Then for the second ability we have the Earth Cleaver, and this time we use just 4 levels to select the push. Then for your gems you want to get the damage increase gem, and then lastly for your rune you want to get the Overwhelm. Then for the next one we have the Soul Absorber skill, and we use 10 levels to unlock the Swift Fingers, Fist of Darkness and Halve. Then for your gems you want to get the both types, so one for cooldown reduction and the second one for damage increase. And then lastly for your rune you want to get the Wolf. Then for the fourth ability we have the Spin Cutter, and we use 7 levels to select the Open Weakness and Quick Preparation. Then for your gems you want to get the cooldown reduction gem, and then lastly for your rune you want to get the Quick Recharge. Then for the next one we have the Dark Axle ability, and we use 10 levels to unlock the Swift Fingers, Tenacity and High Axle. Then for your gems you want to get the cooldown reduction gem, and then lastly for your rune you want to get the Gale Wind. So then for one of the last abilities we have the Maelstrom, and this time we use just 7 levels to select the Orb Control and Dark Order. Then for your gems you want to get the cooldown reduction gem, and then lastly for your rune you want to get the Focus. Then for the 7th ability we have the Void Strike, and we use 10 levels to unlock the Orb Control, Void Zone and Dark Dimension. Then for your gems you want to get both types, so one for cooldown reduction and the second one for damage increase. And then lastly for your rune you want to get the Wolf. Then for the last and final ability we have the Blitz Rush, and we use our last 10 levels to select the Vital Point Strike, Charge Enhancement and Shadow Rush. Then for your gems you want to again get both types, so one for cooldown reduction and the second one for damage increase. And then lastly for your rune you want to get the Protection. Then as well after level 50 for your awakening skill you want to get the Flash Blink. But if you haven't reached level 50 yet, then here's a specific guide on which abilities you should upgrade first while leveling with the Deathblade. And then on top of all this, focus on equipping as high item level gear as you can. And then at the endgame you should have 350 crit and 1250 specialization. But again, if you haven't reached this point yet, then try to have around 70% stats into specialization and 30% stats into crit. Okay, so then the way I would recommend to upgrade this build is at level 50, you will get around 250 points. So here's how your build should look like, but then by doing more and more endgame content you will get more points. And at the absolute endgame, this is how your build should look like with all the 410 skill points. So at the start you use the 256 point build, and then by leveling up and completing quests, you will get more points. So just keep on improving your skills and getting higher tier runes and gems as well. So then let's move over to the engravings, and you want to get the Surge. This engraving is the most important thing of this build and should be only used at level 1. This engraving provides a 7.5% base attack power buff while in the death trance at all levels. Level 2 and level 3 offer additional attack power per stack, but they're not worth it in the tier 1 content, because other engravings offer better damage increase. So then only once you get to the tier 3 content, then you can upgrade this engraving to level 3. So then the second engraving is called the Master of Ambush, and this is a great engraving that synergizes very well with Deathblade, as you should always be trying to hit the enemies with the back attacks, so this will be a really good damage modifier to have. Then the next one is called the Adrenaline, and this provides a easy source of crit rate for the Deathblade, since you can spam your skills with low cooldowns to upkeep the buff. Then for the fourth engraving, you want to get the Supercharge. This is a excellent engraving that complements the Deathblade very nicely. 3 of the Deathblade's main damage skills called the Blitz Rush, Void Strike and the Soul Absorber will do a lot of damage with this, so you'll be able to enjoy the increased attack speed of your skills in addition to the big damage increase. Then the next one is called the Grudge, and this is more advanced engraving that is recommended for tier 3 content. This Grudge is the most efficient engraving against mobs, and you will get your damage increased, but in return you will take 20% more damage. So when you get to the very end game content, which is called tier 3, then get this engraving. And before using it, get it to at least level 2, because at level 1 this engraving is not that efficient. And then for the last engraving we have the Cursed Doll, and this is a significant attack power increase at the cost of 25% healing penalty. This penalty can be offset by paying more attention on dodging red AoE circles and by using healing potions more often. So then in my summary, I would recommend to get the top 3 engravings first and then the bottom 3. And then last but not the least, let's move over to your cards, and you want to get the Armen, Syria, Solas, King Tyrain, Carmen and Delane Armen. In general, these cards are an endgame system for maximizing your character, so you don't have to get them right away, but these specific cards will optimize your damage output in PvE even more. I did bunch of testing for this build and this was the best and most optimized card set. Okay, so then moving over to the gameplay, and if you have played this class while leveling, you will be very familiar with the skills, so I will just try to give you a short description. So then for the first 2 abilities, we have the Wind Cut and Spin Cutter, and these are your main stack builders for Surge as they are multi-hit skills. Then the next 3 skills called the Soul Absorber, Void Strike and the Blitz Rush are your main highest death orb meter generators that will deal very high damage as well. Then the next ability is called the Earth Cleaver, and this is your main counter skill. It can also be used to generate a couple of surge stacks, but I would mainly recommend to save it on when you want to counter attack the enemy. Then for one of the last abilities we have the Dark Axle, and this is a great repositioning tool, as your high axle tripod allows you to jump over the bosses to get the back attacks. Then the next ability called the Maelstrom provides a self buff, which increases the death orb meter speed for a short time. And additionally, because we have selected the level 7 tripod called Dark Order, this skill provides additional attack speed buffs for your entire party. And then lastly, our awakening skill is called the Flash Blink, and this is a good damage dealer that does 3 things all at once. It fills up the death orb meter very fast, it gives us very high damage and mobility as well. Okay, so then let's take a closer look at your best skill rotation. So first of all, the rotation begins after you generate your first 3 death orbs. So use your main damage skills and keep on using the Wind Cut ability, so you would be able to faster build up your stacks. But then, like I said, when you get to the 3 death orbs, activate your death trance mode by using the Z key, and then use the Spin Cutter, which will increase your back attack damage for 9%, and then do damage by using the Wind Cut, Blitz Rush, then the Spin Cutter again to reapply the debuff, then use the Soul Absorber. Then when you get to your surge stacks to 14, use your special skill called the Blade Surge, and make sure it's a back attack to get very high damage. Then use your Maelstrom to increase the death orb generator, then use the Void Strike, and at this point you should have again filled all 3 death orbs. So repeat the same process. So let's see what we did in this rotation. At the beginning of the fight, you want to start off by generating 3 death orbs, and this will begin your rotation. Then mainly you want to focus on getting 14 buff stacks during the death trance before using your special skill called the Blade Surge. Each stack consumed generates 5% death orb meter, and 14 buff stacks generates roughly 2/3 of your meter If you try the rotation for yourself, you will understand why the optional stacks to consume are at 14. Your stacks accumulate on each hit of a skill with a 0.4 second cooldown, so I recommend to use your Wind Cut and Spin Cutter abilities as much as you can. This build's main objective is to get to 3 Death Orbs, then activate your Death Trance mode, then while your mode is active, build up to 14 stacks, and then at around 14, use your special skill for the highest damage possible. And after this, we will regain our Death Orbs, so then use some of your damage abilities to quickly fill the orbs again to full, and then repeat the same rotation. So now for my last and final conclusions for this build. You want to use the Blade Surge at 14 stacks to get 2 Death Orbs refunded, so then you can easily get 1 more orb to get to 3 full orbs before activating the Death Trance again. Then I would always recommend to immediately activate your Death Trance mode, while your Wind Cut ability is active for free 2 to 4 stacks at the beginning. Then as well, remember that the Deathblades, no matter the class, engraving or build, are very reliant on the back attacks and landing your skill shots, so make sure you focus on that as much as possible. Then don't forget to not overlap your skills too fast because of the 0.4 second interval cooldown between the stack generation, so try not to spam your skills all at once. And then lastly, the Blade Surge is your hardest hitting skill, so make sure you back attack for the increased damage, and that's about it. So I really do appreciate everyone for watching, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other good Lost Ark PVE classes that you would like to see in the next video, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe, and enable that notification bell, so this way you could support the channel and you won't miss any more amazing content from me. With all this said, you have an amazing day, and I'll catch you in my next video. So take it easy, peace.
Yo, I ain't here